Good news. One of these days, they're all talking.
Well, let me introduce you. And then I didn't come in here because I didn't know what you want to do. I got to see sweet. So there, this is Heather. Hey, Heather,
Thanks, so.
those are cool.
Yes.
Thanks. And.
I don't know, I'm looking at the agenda and maybe 7:30.
Nine, she's a little bit taller than this for like, college. How long have you been there? 4 years. Okay, she was there like last year. Just Haley. Yeah, she left us in this first. Well, thanks, she misses you guys too, but she doesn't miss tax season. Most people left their bigger break, that was it. She loved the people, it was just. It was January, February, March, April, it got her.
Yes, when you're working 12 to 13 hours a day for 7 weeks straight.
And 6 days a week. Yeah, that's really too, yeah.
What do you need? Pen?
Need a couple
There's,
Oh, please.
I always keep an extra one though, if one goes out. Oh, you better take that. I can grab another pen. Do you need paper? I've got paper. You know what? Look at your book.
There's
Book.
paper in here.
Oh, yeah, there's probably a
We should
pen.
put pens in there.
Oh, there's no pens.
Does anyone else need a pen?
Actually,
I think I put one in them because my cup is almost full.
Good morning.
Yes, yes.
Cameras are on. We'll call over this morning city council meeting this December 12th. I mean, 6 p.m. Welcome everybody in attendance. That's the new year. Always nice to have you here. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance, open prayer, reading our scripture thought of itself. Please rise and ready to flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grateful to be here this evening to conduct the business of great citizens of Riverview. We pray that Thy Spirit will be with us, that we'll be in tune with Thee, and that we will be able to fairly and adequately represent those who we've been elected to serve. Ask a blessing upon our first responders. Watch over and protect them. Grateful for the much that we have received and pray for its continuance. We might be able to recharge our aquifers. Again, Father, we're grateful for all that we have and enjoying these certain blessings. We pray for them in God one, but Jesus Christ, All right, one of these declaration conflicts of interest. Conflict to the declare. Seeing none, we'll move to 1C, public comments, questions from mayor and council. Any member of the public wish to address this Item 2 is consent items, bills of the city. In your packet, any questions, concerns?
I make a motion that we, pass the consent items stated.
Second. Okay, motion by Arrington, second by Nelson, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, employee recognition. Laura.
Well, it is with great pleasure that we recognize our city treasurer this evening, Mrs. Heather Gale, for the completion of the Distinguished Professional Credential of the Advanced Certified Public Finance Administrator through the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada. This is a very significant accomplishment and definitely deserving of recognition. There are very few people in the United States and Canada who have completed this certification, and from what I understand, it's Heather the only one in Utah that has completed this certification. This is quite the big deal, and we want to celebrate with Heather on this, and with that, throw back to the mayor with some.
Heather, you are, Bill, we appreciate you. She does fantastic work for us, and she's always trying to improve herself, obviously, and her peers. I mean, she reaches out and helps those, kind of drives them up to her level. So that's an awesome thing that she's willing to do. Tell us a little bit about this award.
I have the certified public finance administrator I've had for about 10 years. And the advanced one is harder to get because there are fewer classes that are offered. So it has to go through a process and be approved to have advanced points. So it took almost 10 years to come up with enough points. And so there's a combination of education and experience, and then you have to follow the ethics of the organization. There's other little requirements, and I'm so appreciative to the city, the council, to the mayor, to Amy for supporting me and allowing me to look for training and take opportunities that are there and continue to better myself, which hopefully in turn makes me a better employee for the city. So I appreciate all your support.
It's awesome that all you do. Have that. And there's a little, big arm class, so this is just a little one that says, she believes, so she could vote. Am I reading that upside down? She could, so she did, okay. But had a little mini stroke, I'm sorry. And obviously, it was involved in.
How did you know that I've never been to that chocolate shop in my life? You don't know me by name.
I'm not necessarily big on flax. They just keep it pure.
Well, your office would say otherwise. Here, I'd like to get a picture of everybody. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sure it is. Thank you. Okay, okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh.
Great job.
I always appreciate talking to you on your text.
And Heather, you're welcome to stay and enjoy the evening with us, but you're also welcome to go and enjoy the evening with your family. Okay, yeah, this one is very applicable to the treasurer.
Oh, that will move right into number 4, the audit presentation, the audit report for fiscal year ending June 2023. Katie.
Hello, everybody. This is becoming an annual thing for me to see you all, so I don't know, maybe Ryan will force me to change audits, which I never will. Well, I will make it hopefully pretty short and sweet for you guys today. So we will just go ahead and jump right in.
And then I'll pause every once in a while to see if you guys have any questions. So we'll go ahead and get started with the 2-page little letter that you guys have. So this one is just our communication letter with governance, just for you guys, and that's it. I always like to go over just a couple of things with it before I go over anything else. So in that indented part on the first page, is talking about estimates. So this is kind of like the capital asset estimates, developer contributions, anything like that, that might be something that we're like, oh, this is probably about how much this and depreciation and that kind of stuff. I always like to mention this because it really is just alerting you to let you know that these would be the things that would kind of change anything in the future. Just because maybe we predicted it to last for 10 years and last for 7 or something like that. So those are the biggest things that normally change, that on top of accounting, like changes and rules and that kind of stuff. So, the other thing I would love to mention, because this one is true, I had no difficulties when I was speaking to the management or anyone else. They were just so quick to answer all the questions that I had and to respond and send me everything back that I needed. Especially the past couple of days, just wrapping everything up. It was nice and quick, and I can't say that for every city, so it's amazing.
Mayor, can you strike the significant part of that?
No significant. That's just no, that's just the term we have to use.
Bill, strike that in the record. Counter no versus significant.
Sadly, that is just the word we have used.
This is their letter to us. We can't do anything.
Yeah.
She just said we experienced some difficulties.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and jump into the report here. Yeah, sure, if you guys want. Not much I can change there. So if you want to go to page 1. Of the report? Yes, of the report. So this is our independent auditors report. This one I like to go over just because there have been lots of little changes just in the wording in the report. So in that second paragraph, it's saying that the financial statements referred to above are presented fairly in all material respects for governmental, business, major funds, so pretty much all the funds. This is our new, pretty much highest level of report that you can get. Instead of being unmodified, it's presented fairly, pretty much. So that means that you guys had a clean audit report from everything that we looked through. And I'll go ahead and just like ease your minds here. There were no findings for the second year in a row. Also unheard of for cities, so good job, got yourselves on the back. And that is really like a whole overall group effort. It's a lot of stuff that management does, but then also you guys have to make sure that you're doing your trainings and checking things and all that kind of stuff to make sure that there are no findings. So good job. So I will just go over some quick numbers so that you can kind of see what's going on. So if you want to flip to page 19. So Ryan had me change the format for this, so it's a work in progress for the format. I'm gonna make it a lot larger next year, but Excel was not loving me this year. So just some quick numbers. So these are all of your proprietary funds. And I'm just gonna go over kind of the total numbers that we got going on. So overall, the revenue was up by 113 grand. You also had payroll up by about 273 grand. This is mostly due to more employees being on staff, more people being full-time instead of part-time, you know, those kind of things. And that was kind of overall for governmental and proprietary funds. Your payroll was just up for those. Your equipment and maintenance was down by about 160 grand. And then in your non-operating revenues and expenses section, that's kind of further down in the part, you were up by about 280,000 in interest. This is mostly due to the rates being so high. That's kind of a normal increase we've seen overall. And then you had gains this year from selling some of the assets that you had on the books. Lori did a really good job of cleaning up a lot of the funds to make sure that things on the books were not still on the books, that shouldn't have been. And then you guys were just able to actually sell stuff this last year, unlike in 22's fiscal year. So overall, for these funds, you guys were actually up by about $144,000 in kind of your change in that position from the previous year. So you did a little bit better in these funds than you did last year, which just means a little more income, a little less spent. So and it means that your fund balances going forward are just a little bit higher to be able to do future projects. Any questions on any of that? Okay, so if you want to just flip to page 51. So this is our general fund, which is the biggest fund that you guys have where you run most everything through. So I'll go through revenues, expenses, and final items and that kind of stuff. So just for big ticket changes that we had for the year, in the taxes section here, you've got about 30 grand higher property taxes and about $157,000 more in sales and use taxes. Yet again, these are normal increases. I know a lot of cities and counties and everything were really struggling in the sales tax because so many people were shopping online and more people are out kind of shopping in person now. So that's a normal increase that we've seen. Down in license and permits, the building permits, you guys were down about 218,000. And pretty normal. Building has slowed down significantly for a lot of cities. Same thing down in charges and for services, the plan check fees were down by about 96,000 correlates with the building being down. And then interest earnings in the other revenue section, that was up by about 136,000. Again, interest was just higher. So overall, your guys' total revenue was up by $305,000 compared to the previous year. So if you flip to the next page, so these are your expenditures. You also have quite a few expenditures go up a year. So in the governmental, general government section, you've got legislative, you're up by about 56,000. This is due to a lot of payroll being up, kind of similar to the priority funds. The public safety police department, that was up by about 206. You definitely have quite a few more police officers on payroll full time, as well as overtime and bonuses. A lot of the ARPA funding has been going to those. And then a couple others, building inspections, this is down by about 19,000. This is due to you kind of switching building inspectors as well as building just being down. And then streets was up by about 136,000. You guys did a sidewalk hazard project that increased that as well as your normal other street projects. So overall, your total expenditures were up by about $564,000. So overall, if you look down at the bottom, this excess deficiency of revenue over expenditures, you guys were actually down in kind of your net profit for the year by $459,000 from the previous year. This is not a bad thing. You still have over $500,000 coming in kind of profits that are increasing the general funds to make sure that you have funds in the future. So you just spent a little bit more than what was coming in than compared to the previous year. Any questions on any of that? Okay, so if you want to flip to page 60. So this is the report for state compliance. The only thing that I would like to go over here is in that consented section that is just slightly down on the page. Those were the items that we tested this year between chapter 1, which is every year testing, and chapter 2, which is every 3 years testing. The only one that we had to do for chapter 2 was the Open Public Meetings Act. This is the one that normally gets people, because people on the board don't always do their trainings. So good job, you did the trainings, which is amazing. And everything else that we were looking through came across pretty clean. And the board was able to answer our questions. So that is everything. Do you guys have any questions on the report? Always, you're leaving. Okay. Well,
Thank you. Any questions for?
Did we find money for rec center anywhere on the season?
You do have money left over in all of your funds to do stuff for, so just depends on when you want to allocate it.
I don't know if we have that much money. Sounds beautiful, but.
Okay, well,
Thanks.
perfect. Hopefully I'll see you all next year.
Thank you so much for your hard work and thank you to the staff. I mean, honestly, Heather and Laurie and everybody has a role, chief, everybody has a role in a clean audit, so thank you. Have a good night, drive safe, Katie. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's not good.
All right, and finally, general fund and special house consideration to amend the amendment part of the general plan, the location was finally 89.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor. So before the council this evening is actually a planning commission recommendation for amendment to our general plan. City staff is the initiator of this proposal in an effort to address some developer requests and desires just relative to this roadway and the continuation thereof, parallel to 589. Some significant concerns have been brought forward to staff about some type of intersection of roadway through the parcel, just with the development intents and plans on the parcel. As you all may recall, we worked with other property owners on the 89 corridor to try to work through some details, work with UDOT and coordinating a lot of these efforts. And in doing so, staff has decided to initiate in a good faith to try to provide some type of solutions. And we feel very comfortable with this modification, just given that there is connectivity to the parcels that are both north and south of this area. I'm gonna pull up the map. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Lindy. Sorry. And I think I need to do a screen share too. Oh, it looks like we have somebody in our waiting room as well. The development group that we've been talking with is here this evening, and it looks like their architect just joined as well. Let me get this map up. You what? I did, yes. Thank you, Mark. And I will screen share as soon as I get this zoomed in. All right, just give me 1 moment. Maybe. Okay. So the 89 corridor, you all are aware, but we do have a corridor agreement with UDOT to promote connectivity and safe access, as well as to allow for the flow of traffic to not be impeded. And so with that and UDOT's requirements and recommendations, the hope is that we have full connectivity with all of the parcels on this. And so if we look here, this is actually the parcel in question right now. We do have a city roadway that was installed with the development of the Stonefield Way and some of this with a cul-de-sac that comes to the rear of this and then extending upward. We have the road that's intended with current plans to punch through this parcel here to the north, and then additionally to this parcel where the developers
have brought forward the concerns, with this parcel here, and then, to this parcel to the north, connecting over into this Capstone Way piece. And so the proposal before you, instead of having a road that intersects through the entirety of this parcel and connects the road, because there's access to the parcel here from Capstone Way, in addition to some access here, we do need a contiguous roadway and a completion of that roadway. And the proposal is to have this roadway continue through this parcel to give that full access, and then to punch over. There is a planned roadway that extends directly across from here, and so to have those parallel, or not parallel, but crossing or across from one another. And with that, to modify the master street plan to have, again, kind of some curvature here. The proposal is to retain the right-of-way width, which is 70 feet, about a 50-foot asphalt surface. In talking with our engineer and public works director, the intent of that being, if you have industrial traffic and large trucks, if you have two that are coming and crossing one another, it gives adequate width in order to accommodate that. Of the asphalt, 50 feet. And that's, I have not, there were questions in the planning commission meeting. I have not gone up and measured. The right of way width is 70. So the recommendation is the continuation of that. And similar again to what we've done working with other property owners and trying to accommodate, still complying with the corridor agreement and looking at the specific needs of the parcel. And so I don't know if there's any questions for me this evening. We do have, again, the development group here, appreciate their time.
So originally when the Mass Road plan was put in there, it's because UDOT wanted a adjacent corridor.
Correct.
It's my understanding they granted an access to this group. Is it a permanent access?
Yes. Yes. And so, and that really does significantly change the need and use of retaining the corridor agreement, because having a permanent access off of Highway 89 would allow for them to have that access point there.
So we would have to continue.
Mhm.
So are both parcels, the little parcel, big parcel, the same?
No, they're not the same owner. So ultimately, there would be an eventual connection through this piece.
I was
Depending,
gonna say, why are we doing a joint or just parcels, but that makes sense.
yeah, good question.
Where's the access?
So the access, and I don't know, do you have the packet on here, Larry? And if not, that's okay. So the access is intended, I can draw, it's not gonna be pretty, but I can do it. Sorry for everyone in the room in advance. It is in your packet, yes.
It'd be nice to see the visual there, but.
Let me- Sorry, we don't have it uploaded on this computer. Just one
No, it's
moment.
in the packet, that's fine.
Yeah, so I mean, it's ultimately a continuation of this roadway. It's not even letting me draw anyway. And then a curvature that punches directly out, because there's a roadway intended right across from 89, and to have those.
That'll connect to that 31.
Mhm. Exactly.
So you talked about like the width of the roadway, are we also doing like industrial depth as well for big trucks? Or does that not matter at this point?
That's really not something we'd address right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now, right now, we really are looking at, and that's actually a really good clarification and point, Anne. This is a general plan amendment, so this is not a petitioner-driven application. This is something that we as a city have said, hey, this is something that we could see as a possible solution to the issues that have been brought up. And so it's a general plan amendment that's to the master street map, but the master street map informs how development is to occur. And so that's where that comes into play.
So it still maintains the 70-foot, but that's not necessarily what she mentioned about the industrial traffic.
What she mentioned.
Traffic and that.
No, she asked about the depth. Yeah, and that would come at, I mean, we need an application. We don't have an application as of current. There have been some past applications submitted. There was a site plan application submitted. We're working through whether or not this requires subdivision, have some legal help with that. Yes, Steve.
So is our right of way in their property? So or is it in the joint property?
So the right of way would actually extend into their parcel.
Okay, so-
And that would be that permanent access off of 89.
So we would move that right of way across the little piece and then in 70 feet in their.
Yes,
In their property, instead of cutting through.
all the way through. Mhm.
Where, is that been discussed? with them?
So that's something that, we have let them know that we're proposing this as a possible solution. I think the developer's preference is that there's no roadway and no connection that goes into their property from the road, and that's been an indicated preference
This parcel or the other?
of this parcel. So there's been an indication or a desire to not have a city roadway, intersect through. And there, was some early communication prior to the submission of an application, from one of our staff members indicating, you know, if the city didn't have the road, that the preference would be to have a certain layout that didn't have a road. That the staff member didn't have the authority to basically grant approval or make that.
Well, I think we're veering off, what before us here is, proposed.
It is, it's much more broad. It's a general plan amendment, whether or not the city feels there's a need to have the road continue in this stretch and intersect through to Capstone Way or turn. That's the question.
The capstone, that section of this property.
So we noticed this as we would any other general plan amendment, and there's been no public comment from anyone aside from the applicants did come to, or not the applicants, the property owners here did come to the planning commission meeting and express some concerns. And they are here this evening, and planning commission had a unanimous recommendation of approval of staff's recommendation for the 70-foot right of way.
So we're deciding whether we continue straight through the middle of the property or we cut up the border of the property.
Correct.
Do you have a signed letter or something from the internet access? Is that
We do.
something that you-
Yes.
So
It makes more sense than cutting through the property.
So what's that saying? Given those two choices.
And I think that's something when we drove down our road. It needs to have something, it just dead ends there at that.
The capstone,
No.
Oh.
Stone.
oh, right here.
There needs to be an out. Pull the set on the other side, and I think for safety, for any ease into that road, I think there needs to be something, so. Out of the two options, I think it's best for the developer not to cut through the property. So I would agree that going to stay up there, that would be a good part of our master plan.
And with the developer and the representatives, they are here this evening. If the council and mayor are willing to entertain a presentation, they 5 minutes. Take the,
I'd like to hear.
But I don't know,
No, you guys,
it's not a public hearing, so.
you're,
Yes.
is that you? You say so.
You said it's about 5 minutes?
yeah,
Okay.
landed on 5 minutes. So let me pull up what they've provided.
Thanks, Mayor Hall, City Council. My name is Ben Welch. I'm here on behalf of Carl Land. Joining me in bed is representing Carl Land, and my colleague Jason Bull with me tonight. Just a brief background on this project. We've been in the works on this since at least 2020. We've been meeting with the city representatives at least since 2020. It began with meetings with Jill Hunt as early as October 2020. To discuss what this project would be. In those meetings, she indicated that Pleasant View wants more industrial product, and we've been trying to help realize that. And so to that end, we met with staff to try to find a piece of property that would work for everyone, and that's how we came to this property. But at some point, there seems to be a change in attitude towards the project, and there was I guess what we would describe as almost hostility towards certain aspects of the project. And the current sticking point is this access point onto 89. And what we're asking the city council to do is to not follow the recommendation of the planning commission and staff with regard to the width. We also don't think it needs to be a right of way, that a 30-foot cross easement would suffice. And let me give you the reasons for that. First, we could just pull up the second slide here. This will, yeah, right there. So you can kind of see how this would be depicted. There's that, the red little line would be that connecting section that would have to be achieved in the future, and then the access easement there is sort of heading into Highway 89. So first of all, this was what was agreed on. If you look at this letter, when we met with representatives from the city, we presented an array of options, and this is what staff picked. They wanted this option to be able to cut through. This was not necessarily what we wanted, but as a concession, we agreed to have this 30-foot wide access easement, and staff picked that one. And you can see that language there at the end of the first paragraph, where it says staff recommends moving forward with option 1 design. Now, we recognize that staff changes from time to time, but we don't think positions should change, especially when citizens rely on these meetings and recommendations when spending tens of thousands of dollars to develop a project.
Quick question, was that letter presented in any sort of public meeting, or was that a private letter to you from the individual?
Correct.
It was a private letter, and one important clarification, we did not have an application at the time that this letter was written.
So we're again, we're worried that we're straying way far off of what's on the agenda.
Second, the change in the road width that's being recommended by planning commission would have significant impacts. We've designed this around a 30-foot wide easement, and if that is changed to a 70-foot right of way, that will then create setbacks, that will change parking, that will affect the location of the building, that could affect the location of the building relative to the spur on the back. That will also change how it lines up with the development on the other side. The two roads that are facing each other on 89, they do not align. And if that becomes a 70-foot road, it would appear that in order to line those up, which is what UDOT wants, they're actually then encroaching on the next property over. And so it would require an additional engineering to do so. So again, it would fundamentally change the project. It would probably put us back to square one. Third, the 30-foot wide cross easement, if we can just go to the next slide, is what the city has done for virtually identical properties in the same area. You've got the Boyer project and the Carl project here shown, say 40 foot. It's a 40-foot cross easement. Right? You're talking 30-foot cross easement, right? But not a 70-foot right of way, right? I mean, this is why we think that these two properties should be quite on the line, quite so. Right. But we, certainly what we've asked for, what was discussed and agreed upon with staff was more in keeping with what was being proposed and what we've engineered around. So, and also, this was, the Boyer easement was designated as a minor, or excuse me, a marginal road and not a major collector road. Before, please go to the next slide as well. Go ahead. This is just showing the properties again. As you can see, I mean, from this slide, it shows how it was previously these major collector roads that bisected both properties. The Boyer property was converted to a 40-foot wide easement that became a marginal road. More or less, that's what we're asking council to do as well. All right. Fourth, the process access easement. A 30-foot wide cross access easement is what would be reasonably necessary to accommodate the traffic generated by the project. We have this traffic study done this year, January, to examine this very issue, and the conclusion was that there would be very little impact generated by the project. About 65 a.m. trips, 70 p.m. peak hour trips, so about 413 daily trips that would be generated by the project, which is very, very little. The engineering for the project, UDOT approval, everything came from this traffic study, which again was based on this notion of a 30-foot cross access easement. That's how everyone sort of building the engineering and the planning around this project in order to accommodate. And even if there was more traffic that was expected, it doesn't follow that, that my client should be required to reconfigure the project or give up more property to accommodate it. And that leads me to my last point, which is, scrolling ahead, this idea that if the city insists on demanding more than what is reasonably necessary, then we may have an unlawful exaction. As you know, exactions are common in development, certainly for roads, but Utah State Code 10-98-508 provides that an exaction may be imposed only if two criteria are met. There must be this essential link, and it has to be roughly proportionate both in nature and extent to the impact of the proposed development. You'll skip ahead one more slide. So we contend that neither of those are met here. There's no real nexus between the city's interest in connectivity, at least not on this scale. And second, there's no proportionality because again, there's no showing that the amount of traffic that would make use of this road is proportional to a 70-foot right of way. So let me conclude with this. My client's objective here is to build this project. That's what we wanted from the beginning. And that's what we believe the city wants as well, or at least it did at one time. And for whatever reason, at some point, staff seemed to reverse course on that position or has wanted to make some additional conditions that were not previously discussed or agreed upon. But ultimately, the decision rests with this body. And there are considerations here that that we think that the city council should treat very seriously and are considerations that maybe planning and staff have not fully vetted, and that includes things like the importance of being consistent, the impact that it would have on the project, the fact that the hard data that we presented and the traffic study actually supports our position and not, some of the ideas that they presented here, which we repeatedly asked for them to show us the data, the 70-foot right of way would be needed, and have not gotten any clarity on that. And finally, just this idea that the 70-foot right of way is just disproportionate to the needs of the project, which candidly just makes it unlawful. It's an unlawful exaction to ask that much for us to give up. And so for those reasons, we ask that the city's going to revise the master plan, which is something that the planning commission is asking or proposing that at the very most that this change be made a marginal road. A 30-foot wide cross-access easement would be more than sufficient to satisfy all of those needs and concerns. That's what we believe was discussed and agreed upon, what we relied upon in doing that. And if we can do that, we think that we can put this project back on track.
And given what's before us right now, I'm assuming the preference isn't that we keep the road going back through the middle.
No.
Okay. So the vote we're doing is whether the road goes through the middle or if it cuts up the edge. So we need a separate proposal to take.
Correct. So if the council desired, we could have this go through an additional process. If there's a recommendation for an alternative, it would need to go back to the planning commission and then return.
Just ask a couple of questions, clarification on the cross-access agreement. First off, again, be consistent on stop 40 foot because that's what's the other one, but whether it's 30, 40, it doesn't matter. It's a cross-access agreement. You maintain ownership of the property. You'd be responsible for plowing that, maintaining it, resurfacing it, all that type of stuff. That cross-access agreement will ultimately be punched through there. I don't know when. It might be 5 years, it might be 5 months, it might be 10 years. But that little sliver of parcel someday, sooner or later, will punch through there, and people coming out of Snowfield will utilize that cross-access. We just want to make sure that they understand what's a cross-access agreement and the ongoing costs of that versus some sort of dedicated roadway right away to the city.
I have no interest in taking more property that's needed. We just, right now, the proposal is those two options. So we can't vary from what's on the agenda.
Yes.
Can you go back to the map?
Yes,
What is the width of that road, Stonefield Road? Is that 40 feet or is that?
That's a 70-foot.
Is that a 70-foot road?
70-foot right of way and 50-foot surface from what I've been told.
I have a slide on this, though, that I think is helpful. If you can pull the PowerPoint, we can show that particular section.
You want that, hold
Yeah.
Okay.
the 11th and final slide. All the way down.
Oh, sorry.
There's UDOT, one more. So it is on paper 70 feet, it's not in action. As you can see, the 70-foot would take it into the building.
So if we, Mayor, in my opinion, a 70-foot right away, we can do sidewalk and do those other things that, right, is that why we have that right away typically in a typical area to have two drives? So to have the roadway and sidewalk, all those things.
Not necessarily sidewalk, but
No, I think that's.
I think there is
It's the
sidewalk.
total.
It's the total easement, it's not necessarily the road.
Residential and.
So, you know,
people on each side.
to put, infrastructure in, something like that, we have that. Typically, that's what that easement is.
That's all.
So,
Right.
so I don't know if we could, again, take this back or something to look, I mean, I don't think we need a huge, we do need to have access for trucks and different things, I hate to. You know, to have a 30-foot wide something go through and then come into that, it just doesn't work for, well. I think we can talk about that, I wanna make sure that.
So the concerns of our engineer are that, I mean, if you have two semi trucks trying to go on that curvature that's being proposed, it would be highly problematic and challenging.
And so what, go back to the other side, Stonefield to the south, I guess, or
Do you want
east.
to stay on this? Do you want me to go back to the
Yeah,
map?
Go back to the. We'll go back down, what is the road, so. You go down to the roundabout, then what's the road, zoom in or out or whatever.
Yeah, I think
Do you want it zoomed in? Sorry.
So. 1500 west,
Is that 70%?
And so
so, you know, we needed to match something, some sort of that.
in your packets, there is sorry, I should have uploaded this for the screen, but there is the road master plan. And it shows the road planning and the sizing, so it does show this as a 70-foot right of way as well as this. And at the planning commission meeting, there were questions that were raised whether or not this is the 70 feet, and I haven't gone in person and measured that once, or haven't measured that, but the plans on their subdivision plans show it as a 70-foot right of way.
So I, you know, from my opinion, I think we need the roadway, I don't know, I would give up a little bit of that property, because I don't know what we're gonna be doing with that in there. So the roadway could be the 50, 55 feet, whatever that is, I would, or a 50-foot roadway, curb and gutter. You know, that to have that be something, I would give up that 20 feet.
Well, it makes sense to line it up with whatever 1500, if a truck can pull in, we want it to be able to pull out.
Oh, wow, yes.
The second, let's go back to what you said, that's not really a discussion that we have right now, the
No.
question is asked.
Yeah, that's fine, but I'm just saying for these guys,
Give an idea.
that's what I'm considering, I would consider giving up.
Well, we need to have a dynamic cities to our thing.
Well, we're not making those exact things right now, but I was telling, that's what,
Yeah, he's saying what he's will.
that's my feeling of a compromise. I truly feel that we need, you know, something that's the 1500, I think we need something like that, and I definitely don't want to go straight through your property, I think that's, we're giving that up, is that would make me nuts if I were the property owner to have something direct from my property. But we're still considering that, especially where it's gonna line up. And we need to look at the other side where that lines up, because it does need to be somewhat cross, we can't have one off of the other, so I'd like to see what that truly is gonna be on the east side of 89.
And if I could just make a quick remark, with the concerns expressed with consistency, there are some major differences in this, in that, I mean, UDOT has across this corridor treated properties inconsistently. And so that's created challenges for the city in implementation, because some of them have gotten permanent accesses, some of them not. Some of the areas have already been developed, some of them not. And so we've got some real challenges to navigate with it. But you all may recall about, I think it was back in April, it was like 6 months ago, I don't know timeline, but we did go through this exercise in doing our very best to clean this up and to really make the roadway and the widths match as best as possible.
So right now, again, what's before us is the general plan amendment for the
Correct.
cross versus up. That's really all we're gonna talk
That,
about.
that is the discussion.
So
If there's a desire to
So
look
if
at
we
modified width,
discuss
you can come back.
modified widths, then we need to table this, that what we need to do.
The,
Not necessarily, and I'll say, won't tell you why. The general plan is a guiding. So we could, we could do this, they could come and ask for something else, and we could, and yeah, address it.
Could we,
So we're trying to make it more and more that we're sticking to them, but it's still. General plans are general.
Each property is,
but we need to have consistency.
well, yes, but I'm willing, so. If we need to make a motion to accept,
Well, hang on, can we make?
We can make a motion, but we can't say hang on.
No, I just wanted to.
It'll be a discussion once it makes it.
Sure.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to possibly ask staff some considerations of bringing back measurements and exactness from 1700 and stuff, so we have some. With the roads.
if there's a desire to table, we'd be happy
Well,
to.
not necessarily with table or anything, just for future discussion. We need to have measurements of the roads.
so Mayor, I'll make a motion. I feel that out of the two choices, cutting through the property versus getting access, I think we've always talked about having access along for Stonefield, or Stonefield Way. We've always, that's been on our plan to connect to, put up the capstone. I don't feel that's fair for the property owner, so if that's giving property owner something, I would make a motion that we consider the, going north or east, however, whatever your direction is, up to 89 to meet that road, that access that that's gonna give us. With a caveat, I would like to consider some widths and possibly reducing that from 70 to a 50 or something, if we don't need the easement for other things. Asking for easement after, we put a lot of stuff on those easements. Put, fiber, we put electricity, we put all those different things in, if that's needed. Somebody then, but I would give that up if we can't see anything that's necessary in that easement. So I know that's not part of what's here, but that's kind of my idea.
And in my communication with engineering and public works, I don't think that those are considerations relative to the width. I think the main thing is that safety and access that's come up. So, I mean,
So if the road still 155, and I don't care, what do you need an extra?
Is this just what access does it tell you what the width of the road is right now? Or is this?
So the road's 55.
No, but the item
Well, that's-
just thinks about access, it's not telling you what the width of the road.
well,
is.
it's about modification of the general plan. So you're considering a general plan amendment to have the road in the streets master plan not intersect entirely and punch through, but rather to curve it here and then to maintain the 70-foot width.
No, his motion is to.
Yeah, the motion's
change-
different. Yeah.
Change, and we have, council has the right to do that. To basically water qualifier on it, saying, yes, we like this alignment instead of this alignment. But more research or flexibility.
On width.
On the width, I should say flexibility.
Thank you, Mayor. for clarifying. That's my thoughts, anyway. If someone wants to put a second on it, and that's great, that's what, that's.
So I guess
What qualifies as the flexibility, that's what I mean.
I think we can wait for a second, but
Back here,
we just need some clarification as staff to be able to, let
So
this
with that,
gentleman
motion,
know.
though, we are not locked into a width, or we are locked in for now,
No.
unless we come back with another
I
motion.
don't know how you can do that.
Well, it doesn't say anything here, I don't know, staff reports do say 70-foot width
Can we
right
just-
away in the paperwork.
well, I'll tell you how we can do it. You're saying how? No, you could pass it as 70-foot, but everybody needs to understand, this is a guiding document. Okay, it's always been a guiding document, and until the legislature changes that and makes it a compelling document, it's a guiding document. So the 70-foot, while it's in our general plan, is a guiding, we think this would be best at this point in time. Something comes up that is not best, in the best interest of the city or whatever. You know, it would have to come back here for us to say, not as an amendment necessarily, but as a decision.
A consideration.
So,
So I would just pass it as is, and then they could bring their evidence, you know, versus what our staff evidence is to
what,
amend or consider.
the skinny piece in between there, I know it's a storage place right now, instead of the trucks and everything.
It's owned by Western Community Fire. I believe.
So, you know, what's their thoughts of cutting through that property and would any of that? I mean, we're putting all this road width on this parcel because we're moving the end piece.
So with the plan in place, it would still require for the contiguous roadway, and this is just with what's being proposed in the plan, obviously, there's some discretion here. Would be a punch through and would likely be in this location to allow for the connectivity onto this parcel.
So even on this settlement here, there is a road. Are we gonna have two roads? Is that road not there now or? On the other side of 89, we have a road coming on to keep on going
On this side, or
down, and the subdivision is down, right? So,
Just south.
Sorry, where are you talking about that one?
this road right here. It's coming down, so use,
That's not a road.
that's not a road.
It's still a property.
future road,
Okay,
That
future action.
road above it.
also, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go above the
So
first.
road here, and there'll be a road here.
Yeah, somewhere right close to.
Do we know where that's gonna be? Is that?
Yeah, we do actually. It's not.
Cause this is an older map.
Steve, if it were me making a motion, I would just pass it as is and then consider it.
Well, So there's a motion on the table, Mayor.
Right.
I would say, let it die if no one else wants to say it.
Somebody wants a second. Can I ask a question? Anybody want a second? And that motion dies for lack of a second. Go
Mayor,
ahead.
My question was, my understanding was the question for tonight was a general plan amendment, which means not only can you change the direction, but also the width. So I don't know if it's is it a take it or leave it 70 foot, or can you adjust the width as part of the?
So here's my question, is there an application pending right now? And
There
does this change that application, whether it's accepted, denied? Because my thought is you change the general plan and make it spur north, and then an application comes in and we consider whether we vary from the general plan based on the application.
So with regards to an application, there was an application submitted for site plan. We have been working with an attorney to establish whether or not subdivision is required, as it was staff's interpretation with the code that subdivision would be required. There is an agricultural exemption for this property, but they are proposing manufacturing use.
Mhm.
And so that's still being navigated a little bit. In the latest, in speaking with our attorney, there would be a requirement for subdivision because it's not an agricultural use being pursued. And so the application that was submitted was deemed incomplete without the subdivision portion of that.
So if we amend this as it's stated in the agenda, that doesn't trigger some automatic declining of the current application or automatic, because what I would like is for them to be able to come back and say, here is our plan, here's why 40 foot, 30 foot will allow 2 18-wheelers to cross and get in and out of the property.
It does. So
if we pass as is, we can still do that.
that's correct, because it is a non-binding document. You can make determinations.
Yeah, so I would just make a motion to pass the amendment to the general plan as stated in agenda item number, where are we?
I second that motion.
5, and with the note that the developer can come back and petition us to amend it.
I second the motion.
Motion by Nelson, second by Erie, further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yes, the only comment, the only comment I've made is, I don't think the council has any desire to take more. We want manufacturing city, I don't think it's a contentious thing, but we just also want trucks to be able to come in now, so how we can work that out, would be great.
Are you the property owner? Yes. And I just really want you to entertain the idea of the access agreements versus right of way and what that means future. Because all maintenance costs on the, just So, you take that all on versus shifting it over to the city with the benefit of that. We have a public street, we plow, we maintain it, we resurface it, we do all this stuff versus the public access, or just an access agreement that you not, it would require it. And that says you keep that property, but you maintain it, you resurface it, you plow, you. Something, hopefully that you're clear on and understand. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Appreciate it.
All right, item 6, demand to clarify the consolidated fee schedule, discussion and possible consideration. To amend the consolidated fee schedule regarding collision sports and animal services resolution 2023
Hey, Conley. We've been reviewing our,
Thank you very much.
fee schedule. I realized we were somewhat behind what police departments, sheriff departments, charge for reports and body cam videos. We were only at $5 per police report, $20 per body cam, and that fee was, we felt way out of date. So we did some research, we figure other agencies charge, and they all seem to be pretty consistent, as listed on, I think, what you have in front of you. And so we just want to make, the council to make an amendment to update our fee schedule. And there's also part of this, there's redacting, when you do redacting on police reports and video, body cam video, especially the body cam video is quite labor intensive. So the state law allows us to charge up to the lowest paid hourly of police department employee, and we figured that would be somewhere right around $25 an hour for excessive redacting on the body cam video. So what we'd like to propose is that we get caught up to date and charge $25 for police reports, $25 for video, plus a redacting fee as applicable. And the one thing this does do is if you read down a little further, when a victim comes in, they can victim of the crime and they say, geez, you know, this happened to me, I'm a victim of crime, I suffered this kind of loss or injury or damage, and now I've got to pay to help my insurance or legal, now I've got to pay to report what happened to me. So what we're proposing is that victim gets one free copy of the report, or they are a victim of that report.
And that's great. Do we define, is there discretion? Who's the deciding factor of who a victim is? Just wonder I'm fine if it's your discretion or somebody else.
I think it'll fall on the lieutenant or the detective. They're going to always familiar with the case and realize who is or isn't a victim.
Yeah.
Someone will say, well, I was across the street, I saw the whole thing on this one way or not here. You know, so we can determine, I think, with pretty good accuracy who a victim would be in this case. If there's no problem, I think we should make that call, and we will make that call and take it accurate.
Okay. Okay.
And we've stated with the state law, I think attached to this is more highlighted state law, which allows us to do exactly what we do.
So it's in lines with what looks like McDonald's doing or
So we can.
Mayor, make a motion to.
I'm so sorry, very quickly.
It's back.
Oh, we got dental services, sorry.
And really quickly, Laurie noticed in the resolution, there is not the clarification on, the redacting for,
Yeah.
oh, and then the victims as well.
So
Sorry, Mayor's already on it. Should have known.
talk about per hour, redacting per hour, does that mean to stay $25 per hour?
So we're gonna be, it'd be an hourly fee for the lowest paid individual.
We need to add that, and then
We clean up that verbiage a little bit.
Is that under, I thought that was in QB.
I'm looking at the resolution.
Yeah, so the resolution is what will actually be considered for adoption, so we didn't have those points in there.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't want to make a motion anymore, so.
So
We have some, and maybe this is housekeeping from old, but in this resolution, you're changing the fourth offense for animal control licensing to 200. Or the.
That's in the ordinance.
Pardon?
That's in the ordinance, but I just never did it
I'm
correctly.
just looking at the resolution.
Yeah, but the ordinance that we passed for animal control,
Uh-huh.
they're listed in there as,
So this is
200.
not the resolution. These line outs, the changes there.
just to match the ordinance that's on the book.
Okay.
Yeah, those aren't new, they're just
Okay,
clean up, those ones are
that everything's the same.
the same. It's just the police stuff at the top that's new, police reports.
Okay, just clarification. All righty, now. Those.
Lost one, sorry.
Oh.
I just can't follow.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
So is audiovisual different from the redacted feed? That's different, those are two different things. Is audiovisual, the body cam, different from the redacted feed, those are two different things.
Well, yeah, to redact a video is considerably different than redacting reports, how I do that.
So the fund is all keys for the video or the report, and then in addition to that.
Oh, I see.
That's of the video and.
I don't know, no, I'm not sure. They help, we'll do it together, right?
You did provide something you put on this, I didn't have to get, they'll do it, I guess, for the. Or
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution 2023Q, with the clarification that the reports will be free for victims, first reports. And that the audio visual on the report will be $25 per hour. Is that right?
for
For
redacting,
the redaction
$25 for the, or
and $25 for the report
And the video.
and the video.
25, additional 25 for redacting per hour.
Okay, I think I already got that. I'll say it again, just in case.
Maybe I'm too confused.
$5 per hour for the redacted portion and $25 for the actual report.
And for the-
And for the video. Okay, is that cleared up? Is that?
And
cleared
then the
up?
victims, one free copy.
I got that.
Okay,
right.
yep.
No, I got
Second,
Okay, motion by Eric, second by Elton for the discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Want to do roll call?
Oh, sure, more than one itself.
yes.
Yes.
Gary. And our famous kids in the end there. Okay. I get weird in these spots.
This would apply to animal services.
Okay. All right, item 7 is the city administrative contract. This was distributed, the red line was distributed, as between the top and everything. I would think we would probably want to swap items 7 and go into a closed meeting, talk about our city administrator. All of it, I'm sure.
Hey, I don't know.
Before we back down to the consider the contract. So, I'd entertain a motion to go into a closed meeting to talk about the competency,
Yeah.
And negotiations.
So moved.
and is that a roll call?
Yes.
The motion by Aaron, second by Gary. Roll call, vote.
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Gary? Gibson? Okay. Is this one recorded?
No, let me just.
Should we just adjourn into the conference room?
This. We're in a different. Oh, we're in. So it's.
Me too. Oh.
It's like there's a chat.
Last one.